The wind on Thornridge Mountain did not care who lived and who died. It howled through the pines the same way it always had, cold and endless, sweeping snow across the rocks in long white waves. Elena Voss knew that wind well. She had grown up listening to it through the thin walls of the pack house, curled into a corner where no one thought to look for her. She was an Omega, the lowest rank in the Thornridge pack, and she had been told her whole life that she was a mistake. Her mother had died giving birth to her, and the pack never let her forget it. She grew up washing floors, carrying firewood, and eating whatever scraps were left after everyone else had taken their share. She had stopped expecting kindness a long time ago. That morning, the pack had gathered to move. A brutal winter was coming, worse than any in memory, and the Alpha had decided they would cross the mountain to safer land before the snow sealed every path. Elena had packed her few belongings into a worn cloth bag and stood at the edge of the group, waiting to be told where to walk. Instead, the Alpha's mate, a sharp-eyed woman named Rhea, pulled him aside. Elena could not hear the words, but she saw the look on Rhea's face, the same look she always wore when she spoke about Elena. A few minutes later, the Alpha called out that a small patrol would go ahead to check the eastern trail. Elena was told to wait behind with 2 others until they returned. She waited. The 2 others did not. By the time the sun reached its highest point, Elena understood. The pack was not coming back for her. She stood alone on the ridge, her breath turning to fog in the freezing air, and felt something inside her chest crack open. It was not surprise. It was something worse. It was the quiet confirmation of what she had always feared was true. She could have cried. Instead, she started walking. Her wolf, the part of her that should have kept her warm and strong, was too weak from grief and hunger to shift. She had not eaten a full meal in 3 days, ever since Rhea decided the food stores were too low to share evenly. Elena pulled her thin coat tighter and pushed forward, one foot after another, her boots sinking into snow that reached her knees. Hours passed. The light began to fade, and with it, so did her strength. Her fingers went numb first, then her feet. Her thoughts grew slow and tangled, like wading through water instead of thinking clearly. She stopped shivering at some point, though she did not understand what that meant. She only knew that stopping to rest felt easier than continuing to walk. She did not know how long she had been moving when she crossed a line she could not see. It was a border, invisible to human eyes, but sharp and clear to any wolf with a working nose. The scent on the air changed. It became darker, stronger, marked by a pack that ruled with far more power than Thornridge ever had. This was Kaldor territory. And its ruler was not a man who tolerated weakness on his land, not because he was cruel, but because he had built his pack on discipline and care for every member of it. He was known across the region as the Alpha King, a title earned through both strength and fairness, though few outsiders ever saw the second part. His name was Damian Kaldor, and near midnight, one of his sentries caught a strange scent near the northern ridge. It was not a scent that belonged to any Kaldor wolf, and it was fading fast, thin and weak, like something on the edge of disappearing entirely. The sentry did not hesitate. He sent word straight to the Alpha. Damian had been awake, going over reports in the great hall of his stronghold, when the message reached him. An unclaimed scent, faint and cooling, alone on the ridge, with no trail leading to it from any known pack. That last detail troubled him most. A lone wolf did not simply appear out of nowhere in the dead of winter. Someone had left her there. He did not wait for a full patrol to assemble. He went himself, moving fast through the trees, his instincts pulling him faster the closer he got. The cold had grown vicious, the kind of cold that killed quietly, without warning, stealing the breath from a body before it even understood what was happening. He found her just before dawn, collapsed in the snow at the base of a rock outcropping. Her skin was pale, her lips tinged blue, and her chest rose and fell so slowly that for one terrible second, he thought he was too late. He was not. Her pulse was faint but there, fluttering weakly beneath his fingers when he checked her wrist. Damian did not think twice. He pulled off his own coat and wrapped it around her, then lifted her into his arms, cradling her against his chest to share what warmth he had. His advisors, arriving moments later, urged caution. An unknown wolf on their land was a risk, they said. A stranger, who could belong to any rival pack. Damien ignored them. Whatever risk she posed could wait. Right now she was a person freezing to death, and he was not going to leave her to die the way someone else clearly had. He carried her the rest of the way to his stronghold himself, moving with a speed that left his guards struggling to keep pace. Elena drifted in and out of consciousness over the following hours. She remembered flashes, warmth pressing against her skin, a low voice speaking calm and steady words she could not quite make out, the crackle of a fire nearby. She remembered thinking, somewhere in the haze of her mind, that this must be a dream, because nothing this gentle had ever happened to her before. When she finally woke fully, she was lying in a bed she did not recognize, wrapped in blankets thicker and softer than anything she had ever touched. Sunlight came through a window, weak but real, telling her that morning had come and she had somehow lived to see it. A man sat in a chair near the bed, watching her with quiet intensity. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and eyes that held a kind of steady calm she had never seen in anyone before, especially not in anyone with power. She knew instinctively, from the way he carried himself even while sitting still, that he was no ordinary wolf. "You're awake," he said simply. Elena tried to sit up, her body stiff and aching, and he moved forward to help her, adjusting the pillows behind her without being asked. She flinched slightly at the contact, an old habit built from years of expecting harshness instead of help. He noticed, but said nothing about it, only stepped back to give her space. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice hoarse and cracked. "Kaldor territory," he said. "I found you on the northern ridge last night. You were nearly frozen. Do you remember what happened?" Elena's throat tightened. The memory came back in full force. The wind, the empty trail, the certainty that her pack had simply left her behind. She looked down at her hands, twisting the edge of the blanket between her fingers. "My pack," she said quietly. "They left me, on purpose." Something shifted in Damien's expression, a flash of anger quickly controlled and put away. "Left you," he repeated, as if testing the weight of the words. "During a mountain crossing, in a storm like that." She nodded, unable to look at him. He was quiet for a long moment. Then their eyes met properly for the first time since she had woken, and something happened that neither of them expected. A pull, sudden and undeniable, settled into place between them, like a missing piece finally finding its home. Elena felt it as a warmth spreading through her chest, gentle but overwhelming. Damien felt it as a certainty settling into his bones, the kind of recognition he had waited years for without knowing it. He had refused every arranged match offered to him over the past decade, insisting he would know his fated mate the moment he found her. He had begun to believe it would never happen, and now here she was, a wolf abandoned in the snow by a pack too blind to see what she was worth. "You're my mate," he said, quiet but sure. Elena's breath caught. She wanted to believe him, some small, desperate part of her reaching toward the idea like a hand toward warmth. But years of disappointment had taught her caution, and caution told her that good things did not happen to girls like her. "You don't know me," she said carefully. "You don't know what I am." "I know what I feel," Damien answered. "And I know what I saw. Someone left you to die in the cold, and you survived anyway. That tells me plenty." She did not respond right away. Trust did not come easily to her, and she was not about to hand it over simply because a powerful man spoke kind words. But over the days that followed, Damien did not push her. He gave her space, made sure she had food and warmth and rest, and let her decide for herself, at her own pace, whether she believed what he told her. Slowly, something in Elena began to soften. She noticed the way the Kaldor pack treated its lowest members with the same respect as its highest. She noticed how Damien listened when she spoke, really listened, instead of waiting for his turn to talk. She noticed, most of all, that no one here made her feel like a burden simply for existing. Word of what happened traveled fast, as such things always did among the packs. Within a week, news reached Thornridge that the Omega they had abandoned was alive, and worse, that she had been found and claimed by the Alpha King himself. The political weight of that discovery sent the Thornridge Alpha scrambling, and within days, he arrived at Kaldor territory with Rhea at his side, both wearing careful, practiced expressions of concern. "We came the moment we heard," the Thornridge Alpha said, standing in Damien's great hall with his hands spread in a show of relief. We searched for her for days. We feared the worst. Elena, standing beside Damien, felt her stomach twist at the lie. She had been left in plain sight, with no search party, no trail, nothing. She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, Damien's voice cut through the room, calm and cold as winter itself. "There was no trail leading to where I found her," he said. "No search markers, no signs of anyone looking, only her scent, alone, fading in the snow." The Thornridge Alpha's expression faltered. Rhea's composure cracked slightly at the edges. "She belongs with her pack," Rhea tried, her voice thinner now. "Family looks after family." Elena felt something rise in her chest, not fear this time, but something steadier. She stepped forward, meeting Rhea's eyes directly for the first time in her life without looking away. "You left me on that ridge on purpose," Elena said, her voice steady despite the tremor beneath it. "You told them to go ahead without me. You made sure I had no food for days before that, so I would be too weak to survive it. I remember everything. I will not pretend I don't." The hall fell silent. Damien stepped closer to Elena, not to speak for her, but simply to stand beside her, a quiet show of support that said more than words could. "She is under Kaldor protection now," Damien said. "As my mate, and soon, as my queen. Any claim Thornridge believes it has over her ends today." The Thornridge Alpha opened his mouth to argue, but the weight of Damien's authority, backed by the Kaldor warriors lining the hall, left little room for further protest. After a tense, silent moment, he nodded stiffly and turned to leave, Rhea following close behind, her earlier confidence gone entirely. When the doors closed behind them, Elena let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the strange, unfamiliar feeling of having spoken her truth out loud and having it matter. Damien turned to her, his expression softening into something warmer than she had seen from him before. "You did well," he said. "I didn't think I could," she admitted. "You survived a mountain that was supposed to kill you," he said. Standing up to them was nothing compared to that. In the weeks that followed, Elena settled into life within the Kaldor pack, slowly learning what it meant to belong somewhere without conditions attached. She trained with the pack healers, helped organize the winter stores, and found, for the first time, that her presence was welcomed rather than tolerated. The bond between her and Damien deepened with each passing day, built not on the sudden pull of fate alone, but on patience, respect, and the quiet consistency of a man who kept his word. On a clear morning months later, Elena stood at the edge of the same northern ridge where Damien had found her, now marked with a simple stone marker declaring it protected Kaldor land. The snow had melted into spring, and the wind that had once nearly taken her life now felt gentle against her skin. Damien came to stand beside her, taking her hand in his. "Any regrets?" he asked softly. Elena looked out over the mountains that had once tried to claim her, and shook her head. "None," she said. "This is where my life actually began." Below them, the Kaldor stronghold stood strong against the horizon, home to the pack that had chosen her, and the mate who had come looking for her before dawn, when everyone else had already decided she was not worth saving.